sort of my next question, because there have been folks on our network like Steve Hilton who have made the case that her Brexit is kind of no Brexit at all. And it sounds like this no deal Brexit that you're discussing is sort of what the people voted for anyway.
Yes, I mean, I think the British people voted really for Britain to be completely out of the European Union. Theresa May's deal basically turns Britain into a satellite of the EU with no say actually over what the EU actually does. So some have argued it's even worse than actually being a member of the European Union. And so a no-deal scenario is infinitely better than what Theresa May is proposing. I don't see any alternative for the Prime Minister right now other than to move forward with a no deal.
So if you were, say, now brought in to consult for a company that operates in the UK right now, and they said, what's the most likely scenario? You would say what you've just said to us, that this no-deal Brexit is most likely what they're going to have to deal with. So how would they deal with it? What advice would you give them, someone running a company operating in the UK, if that's what the reality is going to be?
You know, I think U.S. companies need to take a positive approach to the prospect of a no-deal scenario. After all, under a no deal, you are going to see a very big US-UK free trade agreement. It's already being discussed and negotiated. It could be implemented soon after Britain leaves the European Union. That deal is going to be great for American businesses, for British businesses, for jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. I would urge US companies to take a positive approach to what is happening, but the British government needs to make those preparations now in order to ensure that a no deal is a success.
Yeah, and you know, what if they don't, or what if, even if that ends up being the case, there's volatility? Not that we haven't grown used to that, but would there be more volatility in global financial markets because of no deal versus some sort of a deal that's put together? That seems to be the conventional wisdom. Doesn't mean it's right, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect that certainly if the government announced that they were preparing specifically for a no-deal scenario, you could see some immediate impact on the markets. You saw the same impact when Britain voted to leave the European Union. The markets fell. But within a few days, the markets soared again. And the FTSE 100 is actually up over 20% since the EU referendum in 2016. And so the markets will build this in, I think. And I think that in the long run, the markets will once again surge. After all, I think the British economy is in very good shape. You have record levels of low unemployment, actually, in the United Kingdom. You've got London really continuing to operate as the world's biggest financial centre. So there's a lot of economic confidence in Britain right now. And under a no-deal scenario, I think there may be a temporary upset for the markets. But in the long term, the markets will continue to rise, I think.
Niall, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We want to bring in the rest of our panel. John Lonsky is Moody's Analytics Managing Director and Chief Capital Markets Economist. Heather Zumaraga is Vision 4 Vice President. John, let me ask you, can you play out the rest of this scenario that we were just talking to Niall about, that if we get to this point where we do Brexit, London does Brexit with no deal in place, what does it mean from a practical point of view for people going to visit, for the currency, for all those kind of things? I mean, can you think through some of the scenario of what that would look like both inside the UK and outside?